know, seeing the title of this internet post, you'll probably come to the immediate conclusion that this is a fake story and write it off as another grammatically incorrect, badly written internet creepypasta. But I can assure you, this isn't made to scare anyone, and I'm just simply presenting things as they happen to me without any intent to scare the reader. When I was 9 years old, my parents used to work at a restaurant. I was a growing boy. When I came home, I was greeted with a quick snack of macaroni. This macaroni was some of the best pasta I'd ever eaten. My parents were brilliant chefs, the best I'd ever known. Their macaroni was the best in town. During their lunch break, they would come home and cook macaroni, leaving me a bowl on the counter for when I got home. When I got home and had the macaroni that my parents had made for me, like they do every day, you would not believe, you would have to believe me when I say this. It was the highlight of my day. It filled me with absolute delight and love. So, you'll understand how it surprised me when one day, when I came home from school, there was none of my parents' macaroni waiting for me. My 9-year-old self was completely and utterly devastated. Remember, for a poor 9-year-old who looked forward only to eating that delicious, smooth, creamy macaroni, it was the only thing I ever wanted. This occurrence was strange. My parents never forgot to give me macaroni. So, when they came home, I asked why they forgot. They replied with the same old, "Well, we didn't forget," and pointed to the sink, which I wasn't yet tall enough to look into, where my unfinished bowl of macaroni lied. I did what ever 9-year-olds did for the rest of the day, probably playing with my favorite Power Rangers toy. But that night was what terrified me. It was about 8 o'clock when my parents saying, "Sweetie, it's time to go to bed. Tomorrow's a school night." So I headed off to bed. But on my way, I heard a scratching. I wrote it off as just an animal on the roof or out the window, making a nest or just being an animal, I suppose. I set my head on my pillow and began to doze off. I slept for a few hours before I was awoken by indistinct whispers from the hallway. I slowly pulled my sheets over my head like the terrified 9-year-old I was. I heard footsteps coming down the hallway to my bedroom. I kept telling myself it's just my parents, but in my heart, I knew it was something much more sinister. I heard the door creak open as if someone were watching me. Then I knew what I had to do, but I didn't know if I could muster up the courage to do it. The mission was to grab the cross standing on my nightstand and hold it up so I could expel the demon haunting me from my household. But when I tried to get up and grab the cross from my nightstand, I just clamped up and stayed in bed. I was completely and utterly vulnerable to whatever the demon wanted to do, and I was sure it could smell my fear. Though, with all that, I still stayed in my bed, and somehow, just somehow, I was able to fall asleep. When I woke up in the morning, I pondered the situation I found myself in the night prior. Something in my gut told me that the monster I saw was the thing that ate my mac and cheese. So, in full resolution to destroy the beast, I resolved to come up with a plan. That day at school, I spoke with my friend Nathan. We met up during our lunch break in the cafeteria. I told him about what had happened, and he gave me his idea. We could try and set up a sleepover and set up a trap for the monster. So Nathan went to the phone office of the school and spoke to the lady at the desk saying, hello ma'am, I was wondering if you could call my mother, please? The lady at the desk looked at him and replied with, yes, sure thing, sweetie, patting his shoulder. Here's the front office phone. What's your mother's phone number? She asked him. He gave the lady his mother's phone number. 555-511-1911. She punched the numbers and handed the phone to Nathan with a smile. Hey, Mom, can you call up Jake's parents? We want to have a sleepover, Nathan told his mother. Sure thing, I'm calling them up right now, his mother replied. That night, my parents picked up Nathan and I from school and dropped us off at home. My mom still up work, so she kissed me goodbye and said I'll be home by 7. Don't cook anything. Oh, and your macaroni should be on the counter. Then she scrambled out the front door, leaving me and Nathan home alone. First thing we did was go to the counter and find the bowl where the mac and cheese should have been, left with only the remnants of my mother's macaroni and the spoon used to eat it with. Nathan, upon looking at this bowl, blurted out, "You weren't kidding. Wow, this is crazy. You actually have a real demon." Well, I get that it's all cool for you, but it's a real problem for me, I shot back at him. Sorry, I forgot. Alright, I got it. But what we need to trap whatever this thing is, we need to trap it. When my mother came home, we set up an inflatable bed in my room for Nathan to sleep on. In my room. We ate dinner, played some Nintendo, and then headed to bed. Once in my room, we set up the trap. We waited an hour for my parents to get to bed. Then we went out in the hallway to go in the attic. I opened a box of Christmas lights, and there I found a net of lights. I showed them to Nathan, and we knew what we could do with them. We found a box with tug-of-war equipment and took out the rope because it would be useful. Upon returning from the ladder to the attic, we tried to make it back to our room as quietly as possible with the stuff, but clearly we failed. My mother came into the hallway and scolded us. "What are you boys doing?" "Jake, I expected better from you, and Nathan, your mother will be hearing about this. Go to your room now." And pulling me aside by my ear, she said, "When Nathan goes home tomorrow, you're grounded." I started to reply with, "But Mom, there's a deep..." She cut me off with what all parents say. "No buts. Off to bed, now." She then placed a chair in the hallway and waited there to make sure we wouldn't try anything like that again. We waited in my room. Neither of us could get a single moment of shut-eye. We periodically checked the hallway for my mom every few hours, and every time we checked, my mom was watching for any of our shenanigans. At 2 o'clock in the morning, my mother finally assumed we were asleep and headed to bed herself. We didn't know what to do. Neither of us had seen the monster yet, so Nathan was a little untrusting. "Jake, did you make all this up? We haven't seen any monster yet. Maybe you just imagined it." To which I replied with, "No, Nathan, I know what I saw. Let's head downstairs. My mom's probably asleep. I'm getting tired. We should make some coffee." As we headed downstairs, I looked at the time. It was 2:10 a.m. Nothing. We set up our coffee machine and we made some coffee. After Nathan and I drank the coffee, the clock read 2:20. Nothing had happened. Had I imagined all of it? Had I just made up the creature? Surely I hadn't. But the second the clock hit 2:46, we heard creaking in the floorboards. Nathan asked, "Jake, was that your mom?" "No," I replied as the creaking in the floorboards became more frequent every waking moment. Scream! A high-pitched, incomparable to anything except maybe the scratching of fingernails on a chalkboard, noise was emitted from outdoors. And then silence. Tick-tock, tick-tock. The clock hit 2:47, and on the dot, knocking ensued on the door. "Don't open it," Nathan said. "Don't worry, I wasn't planning on it," I made it clear. The knocking got louder and louder until it climaxed at such a loudness it almost sounded like a marching band on the door. I was surprised the neighbors weren't awakened from all the clamor. "My ears are bleeding. Jake, I'm scared. Why aren't your parents awake?" Nathan said with complete terror in every word he uttered. And then it happened. From outside the door, we heard my mother's calm voice. "Jake, I made some macaroni. It's in the fridge. I accidentally locked myself out. Could you please let me in?" I gestured to Nathan. "Check my parents' room. Now, make sure she's not in there." "You're not planning on going in there, are you?" "Just check my parents' room." He went up into the staircase, into the room. I heard the thud of his footsteps go across the floor, and then there was nothing, not even the sound of screaming. I ran upstairs, and Nathan and my parents were nowhere to be seen. I stood there in the hallway upstairs, standing in pure disbelief. Nathan is dead, and maybe my parents are too. The sudden impact of the thought hit my 9-year-old brain. I felt completely and utterly helpless. Why couldn't it have been me? I cried to the world. To interrupt my melancholy, pondering the knocking at the door began again. I went downstairs and came to the door. I looked at the people, and there was Nathan. Nathan yelled through the door, "Jake, let me in. It's freezing out here." Unlocking the door, I yelled back at him, "Nathan, you scared me. Where the heck were you?" I looked in your parents' room. I saw their window was open. I looked out and fell. Luckily, I didn't hurt myself too bad, other than that my arms are a little sore. "Wait, prove you're the real Jake. Who did I have a crush on since the first grade?" I asked him. "It was Sophia," he answered correctly. I opened the door quickly, closing it after him and locking it. Then I hugged him. "You scared the heck out of me, man," I told him. "Yeah, I was scared a good bit too. Good thing everything's okay. Man, though, I'm starving. Could I have some of that macaroni your mom made?" I was a little hesitant, but he answered the question correctly. So reaching in the fridge, I grabbed out the macaroni and gave it to Nathan. He went over to the silverware drawer and grabbed a spoon. Then dipped the spoon into the macaroni and put the teeniest sliver of macaroni into his mouth. After doing this, he let out a large exhale. He then dropped the utensil he was using and grabbed the bowl from the table and lifted it up to his face. Nathan devoured the macaroni like a pig. I looked at Nathan and asked him, "Nathan, what the heck are you doing?" Nathan then downed the rest of the macaroni down his throat. He managed to fit it all down so quickly and not choke. How he did that beats me to this day. Then, looking me straight in the eyes, screamed a high-pitched scream and threw the bowl onto the ground, shattering it into a million pieces. The next thing I remember is waking up on the floor of the kitchen, Nathan missing. My parents even more mad at me than they were before. So what the heck did you do with Nathan, Jake? I swear, it wasn't me. It's been 8 years since the incident, and sometimes, every now and again, I hear knocking from downstairs at the late hours in the night. But I know never to open it, or even worse, to feed it my mother's mac and cheese.